Through these, we develop the behaviors that help us work well together, follow rules, and solve problems. Play is also a necessary element in organizational development. If there is no play in the organization, it will be too stiff to work well in a changing environment. This is not merely a clever use of words. The relationship is reciprocal. If there is no play in an organization, there will be little playfulness among the people. Playfulness itself is often seen as a sign of immaturity and insincerity, and thus is discouraged in many serious settings. We are often expected to put away playfulness, along with other childish things. Yet people need some form of practice in order to work really well together. Playfulness functions as such a practice. It is intrinsic to the concept of improvisation. Inappropriate playfulness is usually the result of lack of training and practice. A fundamental theory of improvisation is that play and playfulness are not childish things. They must not be put away when we become adults. Rather, playfulness is a powerful element in the communication process. Play and playfulness enhance our organizations and help us to develop people. The improv is a very useful tool for introducing, enhancing, or reintroducing playfulness we have outgrown. Life provides patterns. We live in a self-organizing social structure, working, playing, growing, learning, interacting, organizing, building, creating, and socializing. Our lives are organized in accordance with the conventions of our cultures, communities, families, parents, guardians, friends, and teachers. Our patterns are shaped by the style of our learning minds, personal lives, religious teachings, gender, wishes, thoughts, fantasies, fears, fables, falsehoods, and formulas. We live in a self-organizing human body, emerging according to a DNA-encoded pattern. Cells form, divide, and differentiate, creating structures, systems, soma, relationships, needs, and responsibilities. These eventually result in a unique human. Each human can be in most ways functional, in many ways beautiful, in some ways powerful, and in a few ways incredible beyond belief. Soma. The body of an organism, the heart, the lungs, the brain, the lymph system, or an intoxicating plant juice of the milkweed family used in ancient India as an offering to the gods as a drink of immortality by worshippers in a Vedic ritual and worship as an Vedic god. Without our knowledge, we follow the patterns laid down before us as we develop our crawl, walk, stumble, or run. We establish and follow patterns as we learn sounds, signals, signs, symbols, syntax, and language. Before we know it, we are molded by the patterns, codes, and conventions we have learned and inherited into a personality. A person with a name, identity, and persona. In short, before we gain any real power or control over ourselves or the world in which we live, we are patterned by our tribes, our experiences, and our genes. Persona. The role in life that the individual is playing. Carl Jung. We demand our individuality in our adolescence, and if we are loved and lucky, we are educated, we are trained by a reasonable code of values, ethics, and morality, and we receive a functional and human set of basic patterns of behavior. During our young adulthood, we, one hopes, strengthen our individuality as well as our commonality, and we come to some sense of an integrated personal identity. It is this identity that we take to our professions and to our work. We are creatures of patterned behavior. It is common in business at every level to hear that things do not change, that they change too slowly, or that they change in the wrong direction. Tradition can keep change from happening. Disbelief can make things change very slowly. Bureaucracy and error can make us change in wrong directions. Improvisation can help us to keep and institute strong, viable tradition while allowing for change. It can help us address and dispel disbelief. It can shine light on inefficient bureaucracy. It cannot forestall error, yet it can encourage feedback and honesty of analysis to help discover and correct error sooner. Improvisation will also help us laugh and be real and to get on with what must be done once errors have been discovered and addressed. In all of our activities, we have little formal, structured practice in the arts of communication and organizational development. In human development, as in business development, the pace of growth and change is fast. Improvisation Incorporated explores the use of practical improv techniques that will help us deal with this pace. Resistance to change is natural. Planning, creativity, training, development, organization, growth, invention, and dealing with the future all require making changes. Resistance to change is a continual challenge in most business settings, yet Improvisation Incorporated can give you some tools and can lead you to an organization more willing to accept change and more willing to confront resistance to change. The following are just some of the reasons you will want to use improv techniques. Resistance to change stems from unfamiliarity, and hence it appears unattractive. Improvisation helps us become familiar with new concepts and thus helps to overcome resistance. Misconceptions build walls of resistance. Improvisation helps us communicate at higher levels so that misconceptions can be exposed and addressed. Disbelief stops people from moving forward. Disbelief is almost always based in mistrust, which is based in lack of knowledge and communication. Improvisation creates channels of communication that lead to new levels of trust. Fear is also a major stumbling block. We will talk extensively about fear in Chapter 7. Resistance is not all bad. Resistance can be a reasonable response when we face youthful or inexperienced thinking. Off-handed change can be an unsafe thing. Thoughtless destruction of patterns can unweave useful and complex tapestries. Our ways of adhering to patterns, scientific constraint, developmental planning, and deference for precedent are not all bad. In fact, most of these processes have had fabulous results. They have allowed us to meander rather freely between order and chaos. We have created a world filled with health, promise, possibility, and magnificent products of the imagination. All have been set into motion by our patterns and designs. For the past 200 years or so, our sciences have been based on principles of experimentation known as the scientific method. This method restricts us to knowledge that can be weighed and measured. We must produce and publish protocols, how we did it. We must be able to duplicate our results, and others must also be able to duplicate our results. Then we can call our findings true. With the scientific method, we have created systems, structures, business and economic practices, machines, buildings, tools, medicines and treatments, plans and blueprints, all based on past proofs that work safely and well, time and time again. A great many of our patterns are useful and powerful forces. I do not wish to fly in airplanes built by improvisational methods. I do not wish to undergo surgery with playful experimental physicians. I do not wish to have my financial analyst ignorant of trends and patterns in the marketplace. Improvisation can be learned. Improvisation asks that we look for the patterns that can and must be challenged. Improvisation can be used to help challenge patterns in need of change with enthusiasm and openness. Even when we are working with plans and designs, we tend to improvise regularly and often. When our plans do not go according to predictions, when our tools or resources become depleted, when the knowledge is not available or has failed, when long-held ideas become challenged by new data and circumstances, when competition, downsizing, reorganization, re-engineering, disaster, and other external pressures are applied, we either must exhibit the essential ability to improvise, or our plans will miss their mark. The heart of the problem is that we have not actually studied and learned the art and science called improvisation. We have merely experienced it in the midst of disaster, on the factory floor, in the classroom, when our children become teenagers, and by the seat of our pants. We have had to adjust to the improv in the atmosphere of chaos. This is not necessary. Improv techniques can be learned. Improvisation provides a mechanism by which we can practice challenging our patterns without breaking the machinery. It provides a system with which we can practice handling change in positive and effective ways. Improvisation can be understood, it can be learned, it can be taught, and it can be applied to a wide variety of situations. Improvisation is an invaluable tool for all who must manage, grow, solve problems, build teams, resolve conflict, organize, lead, teach, or learn. The wonderful side effect is that improv skills are developed along with solutions to the problems at hand. With this in mind, it is time to start learning about improvisation as the art of communication. Part 1. Introduction to the Improv. Chapter 1. What is improvisation? As you explore the idea of using improvisation as a serious business and developmental tool, read this book with delight in the human spirit and in the search for your own creativity. Also, consider the following good advice. Let me absorb this thing. Let me try to understand it without private barriers. When I have understood what you are saying, only then will I subject it to my own scrutiny and my own criticism. This is the finest of all critical approaches and the rarest. John Steinbeck. Improvisation is the art of communication. During the past 20 years, I have been using improvisation as a business and communication tool and as an organizational development technique. The formal use of improvisation is a new development in the management of business interests. It is a complex concept. It can be seen as a technique, a tool, a state of mind, the improv, a frame of reference, a method of being and thinking, or a technology. Improvisation is also a process. It is a form and format for transformational experiences in business, learning, relationships, and life. Improvisation is both a technology and a discipline. It is a professional-level mechanism for the development and enhancement of effective communication among people. Improvise. From French, improviser, Italian, improvisare, French, improviso, sudden, Latin, improvisus, unforeseen. To improvise. To make use of the tools and resources at hand without reference to expected results. To improvise. To deal in the unforeseen. To take part in the act of creation. This marvelous human skill is learned by some at an early age by disposition or by training. Most of us learn about the skills through experience, living life, and responding to a changing world. We learn to improvise when our plans or tools or resources fail. This means we usually are introduced to our improv skills during crisis. Because humans are very good at being human, this on-the-job training often works fairly well and teaches us something about improvisation in general. The interesting thing about improvisation is that it is a real tool, the use of which can be learned rather easily. It can be taught. It includes skills that can be studied, practiced, developed, and polished by anyone with a good book or a good teacher and the desire to learn. You can use improv as a communication model, as a method for creating models, as a teaching technology, as a transformational learning tool, as a spontaneity generator, as a participation generator, as a feedback development mechanism. Improvisation can be experienced as a creativity paradigm, as a method for creating perspective shifts, as a group analysis device that surpasses some of the most sophisticated organizational and personality testing systems, as an interactive benchmarking mechanism. Improv can be used as a source of inspiration and laughter, as a source of energy, to brainstorm a solution to a problem, to define a problem, to isolate a problem, to analyze a problem, to model a problem, to test a problem, to play with a problem, to monitor group dynamics, as a barometer of group purpose, as a tool to determine risk-taking ability and manageability of a group, as a tool for breaking deadlocks, resolving conflict, moving past stalemates, easing tensions, opening new directions, and bringing people together. Improvisation is a self-teaching, self-organizing, virtual reality, participant-centered force for learning and remembering. Improvisation is a tool-making tool. You can go anywhere you would like by using improvisation. You can make it yours as an organizational development tool, an executive development program, a training philosophy, a presentation enhancement device, a toy, a plaything, or a lifetime of work and play. Note: throughout this book you will find 3 words that can be used interchangeably at some level.